The night smelled like gasoline and rain when Daniel Harper heard the knocking. It wasn't a polite knock. It was frantic, desperate, the kind of pounding that makes your chest tighten before your mind even understands why. Daniel froze mid-step inside his small, dimly lit garage. The fluorescent light above him flickered, casting long shadows over rusted tools and a half-repaired pickup truck that hadn't run in weeks. Outside, thunder rolled low and heavy across the Texas sky. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily, was asleep on a thin mattress in the tiny apartment above the garage. At least, he hoped she was. The pounding came again. "Please, please, help us." It was a woman's voice. Daniel's stomach dropped. Have you ever felt that split-second decision where your entire life could change? Where fear tells you to lock the door, but something deeper tells you to open it. He wiped his hands on a grease-stained rag and stepped toward the metal garage door. His boots echoed on the concrete floor. Rain tapped violently against the tin roof. When he pulled the door halfway up, cold air and rain sprayed inside. And that's when he saw them. A woman lay collapsed on the wet pavement just outside the garage, her dark hair plastered to her face, her clothes torn and soaked in mud. Blood trickled from a cut near her temple, mixing with rainwater. Curled against her chest was a small boy, no older than 6, clutching her coat with trembling fingers. The boy's wide eyes locked onto Daniel. They weren't crying. They were bracing. "Please don't hurt my mom," the boy whispered. Daniel felt something inside his chest crack. He rushed forward, kneeling in the puddle without thinking about the cold soaking through his jeans. Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "I'm not gonna hurt anyone." The woman stirred weakly, her lips pale. We didn't know where else to go," she murmured, barely audible over the rain. Daniel looked up and down the empty street. No cars, no movement, just darkness. "Get inside, now." He lifted the woman carefully, surprised at how light she felt, like she hadn't eaten in days. The boy refused to let go of her coat, so Daniel guided them both into the garage and pulled the metal door down with a loud clang. The sudden silence felt heavy. Under the harsh fluorescent light, the damage became clearer. Bruises marked the woman's arms. Her wrist was swollen, the boy's lip was split, and there were faint fingerprints along his small forearm. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Who did this?" he asked quietly. The boy stiffened. The woman shook her head slightly. "No police," she whispered urgently. "Please." Daniel hesitated. "No police." Every instinct told him this was bigger than some random street attack. But the fear in her eyes wasn't fear of him. It was fear of someone else. He grabbed a clean towel and gently pressed it to her head. The boy flinched at every movement. "What's your name, buddy?" Daniel asked. The boy hesitated. "Ethan." "I'm Daniel. That's my daughter Lily upstairs. You're safe here." "Safe." The word hung in the air like something fragile. Have you ever promised safety when you weren't even sure you could protect yourself? Because Daniel Harper didn't have much. His wife had died 3 years earlier from a sudden aneurysm, leaving him drowning in hospital bills and grief. He worked 16-hour days fixing engines just to keep food on the table. Some weeks, he had to choose between electricity and groceries. He was a poor single dad with a failing garage and a mountain of debt. But in that moment, none of that mattered. The woman's eyes fluttered open. Up close, Daniel could see she wasn't homeless. Despite the torn clothes, her hands were manicured. A thin diamond ring still clung to her finger, scratched but unmistakably. "Expensive. Why here?" Daniel asked softly. She swallowed hard. "Because no one would think to look." A chill crawled up his spine. Before he could respond, headlights flashed briefly at the end of the street. Daniel's heart stopped. The woman's entire body tensed. Ethan grabbed her tighter. "They found us," she whispered. Daniel stood slowly and killed the garage light. Darkness swallowed them. The only sound was rain and the distant hum of an engine idling somewhere beyond the shadows. Daniel moved toward the side window, peeking carefully through the blinds. A black SUV rolled slowly past the garage. Too slowly. Tinted windows. No license plate on the front. It didn't stop, but it didn't speed up either. It just kept moving, like a predator memorizing territory. Daniel's pulse pounded in his ears. "What did you get yourself into?" he muttered under his breath. The SUV disappeared around the corner. Silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful silence. It was the kind that waits. He turned the light back on. The woman's breathing was shaky now. "They won't stop," she said. "They can't let us live." Daniel crouched beside her again. "Who are they?" She looked at him for a long moment, like she was weighing something enormous. Then she said 3 words that made the air feel suddenly thin. My husband's family. Daniel frowned. Your husband did this? No, she whispered. His brothers. She struggled to sit up, wincing in pain. You don't understand. If they find us, we won't survive the night. Daniel's mind raced. Family violence. Wealthy ring. Black SUV. This wasn't random. What kind of family? He asked carefully. Her lips trembled before she answered. Caldwell. Daniel stared at her. Even in a small Texas town, that name meant something. The Caldwell oil dynasty. Multi-billion-dollar empire. Refineries across 3 states. Private jets. Political influence. Untouchable. Everyone knew the name. No one crossed it. Daniel let out a slow breath. You're telling me you're connected to the Caldwells? I was married to the youngest son, she said. Until he died 6 months ago. Thunder cracked overhead. And now, she continued, her voice breaking, my son is the only legal heir. Daniel looked at Ethan, the boy who had asked not to hurt his mom. Oil empire heir, bruised and shaking on a concrete garage floor. Can you imagine that? Growing up surrounded by wealth beyond imagination, and ending up hiding in a mechanic's garage, terrified for your life. Daniel ran a hand over his face. This is insane. They want control of the company, she said. With my husband gone, Ethan inherits everything when he turns 18. Unless, she didn't finish, unless he didn't live that long. The weight of it pressed down hard. Daniel stood and began pacing. He had a daughter upstairs. He had debts. He had no security system. No weapons. Nothing but a wrench and stubbornness. I can't protect you from billionaires, he said quietly. The words tasted bitter. The woman looked at him, not with entitlement, but with desperation stripped bare. I don't need protection forever, she whispered. Just tonight, just tonight. He looked at Ethan again. The boy's small hands were still shaking. Daniel remembered the night his wife died. The hospital hallway, Lily clinging to his leg asking why mommy wouldn't wake up. Helplessness is a different kind of violence, isn't it? He turned back to the woman. You can stay. Her shoulders collapsed in relief. But if anyone comes here, he added, I need the truth. No more secrets. She nodded. My name is Elena Caldwell. Daniel exhaled slowly. Above them, a floorboard creaked. Lily. Daniel looked up toward the ceiling. Life had already taken so much from him. Now it was testing him again. Rain continued pounding. The roof. Somewhere in the distance, the faint rumble of an engine echoed once more. And Daniel Harper realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about helping strangers. This was about stepping into a war he never asked for. And once you step into a war with powerful men who believe money erases consequences, there's no stepping back out. He closed the garage locks carefully. Then he turned to Elena and Ethan. Tell me everything, he said. Because deep down, he knew. By morning, nothing in his life would ever be the same. The engine came back just after midnight. Daniel didn't hear it at first. He felt it, that low vibration through the concrete floor. The kind that hums under your ribs before it reaches your ears. He was sitting on an overturned crate beside the garage door, a wrench gripped tightly in his hand, eyes fixed on the dark seam beneath the metal shutter. Elena and Ethan were upstairs now with Lily. He had insisted. The apartment wasn't much, just one small bedroom, a kitchenette, and a sagging couch, but it was warmer than the garage. Safer, at least in theory. Daniel held his breath. The